Hi, and welcome to this edition of the Insurance Experts. It's my pleasure to have on the line Rich Schwab. Rich and I actually met recently at the annual NAFA conference, a gathering of top financial advisors and insurance agents in the country. And Rich wanted to share with us today his sales process. Thanks for joining us today, Rich.
Good to be with you, Mark. I appreciate you having me.
So I know you've been a long-term care specialist for a long time. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry and a little bit about your business.
Well, pretty much through a family connection. My grandmother was a double amputee in a wheelchair for 7.5 years. So family friend who had started in the long-term care business with brokerage out in the New England area asked me if I wanted to get involved and so forth. And that's how it started.
And when did you start in the industry?
Back in 1992.
Wow. Okay. So you've seen, you've seen a lot in the industry, probably almost 30 years worth, right?
Yeah, a lot of the ups and downs and so forth, and try and keep an even keel.
Okay, so I guess that you need to know a lot about this industry to kind of go with all the ups and the downs. What would you give as a tip to somebody who's first exploring this if they're offering long-term care?
Well, we always kind of joke and say it's not for the faint of heart, but somebody looking to get involved in the industry, as I mentioned a second ago, try not to get too high or too low in the process. Keep an even keel. You're going to have some good days and bad days and so forth. And days you say, why am I doing this? And other days where you say, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I would say just keep an even keel.
Okay, so let's say you had a client coming to you. What would they expect in terms of the process? What's the first steps when you're working with a client?
Well, we want to know where they're coming from, frankly. We ask a lot of questions. It's all about the client, frankly, and we ask them what caused them to inquire about long-term care, come to our office and be interested in long-term care. Was it experience in the family, something that happened, or somebody said something to them? That's kind of, we start off by asking questions what their motivation is.
Okay, and then after you understand their motivation, what would come next?
Talking about what they know about long-term care, or some people refer to it as extended care. So are they versed in long-term care? Do they have any background in it? Do they know anybody that's had this type of coverage and so forth? And really get their understanding of how much they know of long-term care.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yep.
So it's a consultative approach. You're asking a lot of these questions. And then how are you kind of assessing what their needs are and developing the solutions?
No, very much consultative, Mark. Good point. We always talk to clients about it's consultative mode, not a sales pitch or solicitation. We're going through a process that involves where they stand on long-term care, their interest, familial experiences in long-term care. We're talking to them about health issues that can result in long-term care. So we ask them about their health when they're comfortable enough in sharing that with us. We go through, in general, about their finances. That will play a role in whether they can even look at long-term care and possibly what type of product they can look at.
Right. Yeah, I know that the different products have a range of different budgetary options for them. What do you do to get to the solution? How do you determine which is the right type of product and solution for them?
A combination of factors based on health, as I mentioned, based on their finances, based on their age, where they live, cost of care in their area. We go through a series of questions and really ascertain where they're coming from on this, but products that are traditional long-term care versus hybrid. So we're going to go through a series of questions to help us understand what they're most comfortable with and what might fit their solution.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about a case study. I know you mentioned you had a client you recently worked with that you took through this process. So what were their needs and motivation to start off with?
They had tremendous experiences in long-term care in their family and outside their family, friends as well, and they were concerned with spending down their assets that they had worked hard over their lifetime to, they wanted to protect, basically. They'd rather protect them and pass them on, whether it be a legacy or inheritance or for themselves, rather than give it to a home care agency or a nursing home, if you will. So their motivations were really based on some personal experiences and experiences outside the family. They were still working, so we took that in consideration as well. And we had gone through a series of questions with both their health and their assets to understand where they're coming from, so we could really put together a good, if you will, proposal for them.
Okay, and what was the health? There were two clients here, Apple, you mentioned.
Yeah, a couple in their mid 60s, again, still working for a number of years. One of the spouses had more health issues than the other spouse. With that being said, it actually directed us to a particular product because some of the other products we could look at, he could not health qualify, the husband that is. So it allowed us to look at another product that had less stringent underwriting guidelines. It happened to be a hybrid type product that had a life insurance chassis with an extension of benefits for long-term care, and they liked that idea.
Okay, and then what did their retirement savings look like? How are you planning to fund the plan for them?
Well, in this particular case, most of the money was tied up in qualified funds. So as we understand, pre-tax money. So from the standpoint of qualified funds, it worked well for a particular solution with one of the carriers we work with that we can use qualified money and use that and with no tax implications from the standpoint of transferring qualified to qualified and put that into a vehicle where it allowed them to do a qualified annuity that funded a life insurance product that also had long-term care in it. And it diffuses the tax obligation over a period of time.
Okay, I see. So they had an IRA or 401k and then used an annuity vehicle to then fund a life insurance policy that has the long-term care benefit. So
exactly.
More of an advanced type of solution, but one that really fit what they were looking to accomplish.
Fit perfectly. It allowed them to both have long-term care for lifetime coverage in this particular product with a good benefit if they end up needing long-term care down the line. And as we like to talk about, we call it live, quit, or die. If they never needed it, it's there for life insurance. If they decide not to use it and quit it, if you will, it's there as cash value. And obviously the other option is it's there as long-term care if they end up needing long-term care down the line. So death benefit, cash value, and long-term care.
Now, it's really interesting using this consultative approach, asking about their needs, their health, their finances. It kind of guided you towards the right solution. You kind of knew right away what the right solution was based on that.
Great question, Mark. It really does. We tend to be good listeners and we hear what clients are asking us and so forth, or how they're responding to questions that we ask, and it's really consultative. We walk through a series of questions. It's not a situation where we sit down with somebody and say, this is what we recommend, this is how much it costs. That's not how long-term care is done, nor should it be. We really go through a series of questions, and based on what we know about the client maybe coming in, if they're referred to us from a financial advisor, or state attorneys we work with, or CPAs, or if they were an inquiry that came in through a particular organization and so forth. So we really take what we have and then start asking questions and make sure they understand that we're asking them. So we really put together a proposal or a solution that really fits their needs.
Well, I appreciate it. So thanks for joining us, Rich.
I appreciate you having me, Mark. Thank you so much.